Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nina. If you are new to the channel, then I welcome you and I invite you to watch my first video to get to know us. Also in that video is my 2023 Whip Parade. If you are returning, then welcome back. I would like to ask that if you enjoy spending time with me and the cats, please subscribe to the channel. A quick thank you to Jan Hicks. She saw a post I had made in one of the Facebook groups that we're both in about these thread tucks plastic baggies that I'd been searching for. She reached out to let me know she had a few of these left over since she was getting ready to change how she organized her threads, and she offered to send them to me. I love using these for my Victoria Motto flosses because they are larger than the average DMC hanks and they fit quite well. Thank you, Jan, for your kindness. Also, please go visit her Flosstube channel. I will link her in the description box below. Today we have June wrap-ups and finishes, July plans, and the final segment, as always, is projects from the past, where I show you my finished pieces and framed works. We are currently still in 2019. That was by far the most productive year since I returned to cross-stitching after a 25-year hiatus. The photo here is of Midnight Silhouette. It is a quilt pattern by the Blackbird Design. I was preparing my quilt sandwich to get ready to machine quilt this. I always start with this project each month since it is my active stitch along this year. I tend to do a stitch along each year because for me it gives me focus, and like these videos, it also holds me accountable. I find it keeps me from getting into a slump of having too many things to do and not sure what to do next. That is also why I plan out what my focus pieces will be each month. I write those down in my bullet journal. I'm a list maker and a planner. That is something I love to do. So here is Bookshelves Daily Temperature Blackwork by Peppermint Purple. I'm using a piece of white 20 count Aida with the called for DMC as well as some Victorian Motto flosses. These are the highs in the area where I live, which is southern Indiana. I work on this on Sundays and stitch a whole week's worth of temperatures at a time. As you can see, I will be rolling the scroll frame up now for the second half of the year, and this will be the last time you will see January through June, all in one until I finish the piece at the end of the year. Next up, we have Shores of Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. As you can see, I really didn't get very far in June, but that is because I was focused on finishing another piece, which we will get to in a minute. Shores is done on a 40 count linen by Silk Weaver in the color Golden Oats. I'm using the called for NPI silks, stitching this one thread over two. I'm moving the blocks around in the pattern in a different order than the original to make it more my own, and I love stitching houses, so I wanted those blocks together, while the ocean blocks are going to be at the bottom. I will be keeping the ship in the middle of the piece. I also plan to change the dedication block to my father's name. He was in the Navy and I found this was a great way to honor him. I also worked on Cozy Cove by Dimensions. I'm using the included threads as well as the 18 count Aida in ivory. Here's a look at where I was before. I focused on the bottom left and I really want to finish this. These patterns are always so pretty and they are not hard to stitch. What makes these special is the use of different number of threads to create different texture and depth. These are usually full coverage and have a lot of color changes, so they do tend to take a little bit longer to complete. The first finish in June is Cottage of the Month July by Country Cottage Needleworks. I'm working on all 12 months for my little wooden calendar. All of these are done on 28 count Lugana in the color Whisper, and I'm using the called for DMC. All of them are mounted onto a piece of foam core, and I made all of the cording by following Vonna the Twisted Stitcher's tutorial video. I will link her in the description box. I talk in more detail about the calendar in video number 3. Next up is a new start. Like most of us, I am influenced and enabled by other Flosstubers, and in this case it was Helen D. who inspired me to start the 4 Elements Stitch Along by Satsuma Street. I love how most of Satsuma Street's patterns are so vibrant. She always picks such beautiful colors. This piece is no exception. I chose to work this on a piece of black 20 count Aida with the called for Cosmo threads. I usually don't like working on black, whether it's cross stitch, sewing, or knitting, because even though I have a magnifier with a light as well as a floor lamp that sits just over my shoulder, I still find it tedious. But I do love the end result, and in this case, the vibrant Cosmo colors, it really makes them pop. I don't have a fancy studio light set up, and it's been rather stormy and gray here, so the colors are a bit washed out, but in person they are gorgeous. I joined the stitch along late, so both water and earth were already released, and I chose to start with earth. I normally start in the upper left corner of the pattern, but since that part wasn't released yet at the time of filming, I started at the top right side. I'm excited to get to the water section, so by far that is my favorite part. Finally, in June, I have an exciting finish. I am so excited to show you Ann Uffindel by Hands Across the Sea. I started her in 2020 after Nicola released Anne and her sister Isabel as 2 individual patterns instead of the original booklet with both girls. Anne is on 40 count Swigart linen in the color Country Mocha. I used the called for DMC threads. Now, as you can see, I made a few changes and omissions. I left out the embroidery and added her year, as well as my initials and the year of completion. I will be choosing a frame for her soon, and once I have finished framing her, I will do an update in whatever month video that I seem to get that done. So what do I have planned for July? Well, as always, the temperature bookshelf, and now the 4 element stitch along. I want to work on August Cottage of the Month and hope to get September and October completed as well. Shores of Hawk Run Hollow, which I hope to get more progress on this month, and Cozy Cove, which is the next big project I really want to finish and get off my WIP list. Finally, the last segment, Projects from the Past 2019 edition. Harbor Haven, which is by the Bay Needle Arts, was originally a stitch along in 12 parts. I had seen this on Jan Hicks's Flosstube channel when she had first started it, and I fell in love with it, and instantly I had to have it. I got my pattern from the Silver Needle. They sent me the months that were already out, and then one each month after that until the sal finished. I used a piece of 18 count Aida that I hand dyed blue to look like the sky, since the bottom half of the pattern is full coverage. I used the called for colors of DMC, and I did swap the colors for the ocean to Capri and Deep Sea by Weeks Dye Works. The frame I got from Frames by Mail, and I pinned the piece and framed it myself using Theresa Kitten Stitcher's tutorial. I will link her channel below. The piece is 37 inches long by 6 inches tall. I started this in October 2018 and finished in May 2019. This is Irony by Hands On Design. It was one of the 3 patterns in the Laundry Company series. I used a piece of 32 count Lugana in the color cream and my own color conversion using overdyed threads as well as DMC. The washboard I got from Amazon. It is mounted on a piece of foam core, which I then glued to a piece of mat board covered in cardstock. Then glued all of that to the washboard using hot glue. The last piece I wanted to share with you this time around is Needleworker by Little House Needleworks. It is stitched on a piece of 32 count Picture This Plus linen in the color sand. I used the called for overdyed threads. I mounted this on a piece of foam core and then onto a piece of wood that I got from Hobby Lobby, and added the Lady Dot Creates pom-pom trim and the leaves, which I also got from Hobby Lobby. This piece hangs above the door of my craft studio, or what my husband lovingly calls the stitchy room. Thank you for hanging out with me. Feel free to leave me any questions or comments that you might have. I love to hear from you, and as always, please consider liking and subscribing. See you soon. Bye. The first finish in June is Cottage of the Month July by Country Cottage. Start again. The first finish in June is Cottage of the Month July by Country Cottage. No. The first finish in June is Cottage of the Month July.